Life on this planet grows in unusually distinct and diverse ecological biomes. Further study recommended.
The world of 4546b is a beautiful, unique ecological paradise. The volcanic crater features 15 diverse surface biomes, 2 distinct islands, 18 cave biomes, and 4 other mini-biomes. Each of these biomes features unique flora and fauna specialized for the environment they live in. After the player fixes their lifepod in Subnautica, they receive a PDA entry titled 4546b Environmental Scan. This scan specifically notes the extensive levels of biodiversity found within the crater, and this is not at all surprising. The biodiversity in this small 2 km by 2 km crater is unlike anything ever seen before on Earth. Confronted with such diversity in such a small area, one may start to wonder why this area is so diverse in the first place. What causes the crater in Subnautica to have such high levels of biodiversity? Well, let's go through all the possibilities. The first possibility has to do with the large alien presence on 4546b. Prior to the outbreak of the Bacterium 1,000 years ago, the precursor or architect race had a significant presence on planet 4546b. While we don't know when this race first discovered the planet or how long they have had a significant presence on the planet, we do know they were around long enough to construct 4 main bases, 4 caches, multiple alien gates, and a complex system of pipes and vents, reaching to all sections of the crater, and that the precursor race constructed these complex structures in search of a cure to the deadly Kara infection. We also don't know if the precursors knew about this planet previous to their search for an antidote to the Kara, or if they knew about the planet before their search, what they did on the planet, if anything at all. One thing we do know for sure, however, is that their presence on the planet had a notable impact on the organisms that live there. Let's go through the 2 ways the architect race could have affected these life forms, and how it could have ultimately influenced the levels of biodiversity on the planet. The first way precursors could have influenced life forms on planet 4546b is through their structures and just their presence in general. If you're confused about what I mean by this, let's take for example the crab squid. Upon scanning a crab squid, the PDA tells us its EMP blast was likely developed as a response to predation by creatures with electrical hunting mechanisms. While this doesn't specifically tell us that the precursors were the indirect cause of this trait being developed, it definitely hints that this may be the case. Although you could argue that the ampule, or a predator that has since gone extinct, could have caused such a unique trait to appear, but the precursors definitely could have been involved. Let's take a look at yet another example. Upon scanning the lava larva, the PDA tells us that it is a grub-like species which appears to lack sight and smell, but is able to sense and drain thermal and electrical energy in its immediate environment, and that it is attracted to energy sources of all kinds, draws energy from its prey to survive. The ability to sense and drain thermal and electrical energy is not a normal trait for your average species. Instead, it suggests that the precursor presence on the planet caused these creatures to develop such traits in order to survive. The primary containment facility, and perhaps more likely, the alien thermal plant, could have caused such traits to develop. Prolonged exposure to certain life forms or environments generally forces animals to adapt, so perhaps it is the presence of precursors and their technology that has caused creatures on 4546b to become so diverse. The second way precursors could have influenced life forms on planet 4546b is through actual genetic modification. There are 2 species currently living on planet 4546b that did not originate on the planet. The first of these creatures is the cuttlefish. Upon scanning the cuttlefish, the PDA tells us, strangely, this species has not been encountered in the wild, and the scanned specimen has to be artificially hatched within an alien containment unit, and that it is also possible the cuttlefish has been genetically altered, or even imported to 4546b from another world. This shows us that the precursors either genetically modified this creature, or imported it from another planet. The second species that doesn't originate on planet 4546b is the warper. Upon scanning a warper, the PDA tells us that there is no genetic crossover identified with indigenous life forms, and that its internal structure is considerably more complex than other known organisms. Additionally, upon exploring the Ruined Disease Research Facility, we learn even more about these creatures. Upon scanning the warper that can be found there, we learn that this life form shows signs of heavy genetic modification and extensive mechanical grafting. Its digestive and pulmonary systems have been replaced by an onboard battery, receiving energy directly from this facility and distributing it around the body. Miniaturized phase technology has been implanted beneath the skin and is triggered by the central nervous system, allowing the construct to teleport at will. The brain and central nervous systems have been digitally augmented with advanced processing powers and remote communications. On top of that scanning the warper parts set up on an assembly line right next to this warper provides us with additional details regarding the genetic modification of these creatures, saying the organic parts on display contain DNA from dozens of different organisms, largely originating off-world. The fact that these two creatures exist shows us that the precursors were expert in genetic modification, so much so that they were even able to create a completely new creature. It is possible that the precursor race experimented with and modified other organisms as well as these, possibly in an effort to secure a cure to the Kara, which may explain why the crater is so diverse. The second possibility has to do with the Carabacterium. 1,000 years ago, the deadly Carabacterium was let free of the disease research facility and began to ravage the planet. Many species went extinct as a result, and the others were forced to adapt in order to survive the rapidly changing food chain and ecosystem. This rapid adaptation in order to survive the Kara may have resulted in the extensive biodiversity featured on planet 4546b. But there is another way the Kara could have modified organisms, and it has to do with the disease itself. When first learning about the Kara from the disease research facility, the PDA tells us that it attaches to healthy living cells and mutates the basic genetic structure, and at stage 3 of the infection causes unpredictable alterations to biological structure. Additionally, upon scanning a creature infected with the Kara, the PDA tells us that the creature exhibits underlying indications of genetic mutation and aggressive behavior. It is possible that the Kara could have modified many creatures, resulting in adaptation and ultimately the biodiversity we find in Subnautica. The third possibility actually has to do with the ozone layer in Subnautica. In the upper atmosphere of planet Earth, we find a layer of a certain gas known as ozone. This layer of gas serves to protect Earth from ultraviolet radiation emitted by the sun. The main reason this radiation is harmful is because it can mutate DNA, and even potentially cause cancer by doing so. It is possible that the ozone layer protecting planet 4546b is significantly smaller than it is on Earth. This would potentially allow for more genetic mutation and ultimately more biodiversity. The fourth possibility that I'd like to bring up, but that I'd also like to disprove, is interspecies reproduction. Now, before you scream at me in the comments section about how it's all explained by the PDA entry in the laboratory cache found in the Lost River, let me explain and disprove one of the most common misconceptions in all of Subnautica, one that I have fallen victim to myself. Let's start with the origin of this misconception. Inside the laboratory cache found in the Ghost Canyon section of the Lost River, a data download provides the player with an interesting PDA entry. This PDA entry tells us that the aliens, meaning the precursors, discover that life forms on the planet have only one sex. They observed local organisms engaging in asexual reproduction. All healthy individuals tested were capable of egg laying. Eggs usually require genetic material from another of the species. In rare cases, only one parent was required, with evolutionary mutation being introduced by the effects of the environment itself. Take a closer look at the fourth point. Eggs usually require genetic material from another of the species. Most people when reading this interpret this the wrong way. They think it's saying that eggs usually require genetic material from another species. However, they skim over two crucial words, of and the. These words completely change the meaning of this sentence from saying genetic material is required from another species to genetic material is required from another of the species, meaning the same species. This means we can unfortunately rule this possibility out from contributing to the biodiversity found on planet 4546b. The fifth possibility is a combination of the first, second, and third possibilities. It is highly likely that these three possibilities combined cause the crater in Subnautica to have the extensive levels of biodiversity we can observe there. One possibility alone may not be enough to explain this mystery, but together these possibilities may just answer this question. The sixth possibility is that we may just have to remember that Subnautica is a video game. Let's be honest, having such unique biomes is one of the reasons Subnautica is so fun. Without such unique and diverse biomes, Subnautica wouldn't be Subnautica. So at the end of the day, we may just have to remember that the game was designed like this to make it fun to play, because it would be really boring if it was completely realistic in every way. Huge thanks to Sid for giving me the idea and coming up with some awesome theories. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below if you like this video. Is there anything I've missed? Do you have any questions about Subnautica or Subnautica Below Zero that I could answer in another video? Do you have any other questions or concerns? Please let me know. If you like this video, you can help me out by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. It's completely free and it helps me out a ton. Help me reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you want to support me further, check out my Discord server, Twitch channel, Twitter, my second channel, and my other Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero content. Thanks to my patrons, Andy, Arian Johnson, Baby Yoda, King Neutral, Cybot Sean, Skeptic, and then Nothing. If you want to be awesome, become a patron and support today. All these links are in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.